Welcome back, Mark Adam. Adam Brothers Swim to Roto, the Geo Bay Edition. I think if you've been following, the major thing that I've actually been talking about is my keto journey and where I'm going with that. And as I've very clearly said, I'm probably not really quite sure because obviously the literature that you get from all sources is a little bit contrasting, to say the least. But I guess the big thing, my ketogenic eating plan, and I've called it that. It's not a diet. I'm certainly not trying to lose weight. Is obviously high in fat, moderate protein and very low carbohydrate. And what we need to remember is that carbohydrates are the body's preference when burning and wanting energy. But on a strict ketogenic diet, that 5% of that intake is carbohydrates. So obviously the less carbohydrates you take in, the better for you to go into ketosis. So that's a really big thing called the metabolic state of ketosis. So again, it's very scientific in that sense, but I'm trying not to make it that. It's especially for myself. I'm certainly not that type of person. I think anyone that knows me will understand that. I guess ketosis is when the body starts to break down stored fat into molecules called ketone bodies. So that's what it is to use for energy when there is little or no circulation of blood sugar for food. So normally we would actually take on carbohydrates for that, and obviously we classify that as a sugar for that purpose. But in this process, it doesn't do that. So once the body reaches ketosis, which I'm still in, and I measured that again this morning, pretty much the same levels as yesterday because I'm in day 4 now. Most cells will use those ketone bodies and generate energy until, obviously, they need carbohydrates. And obviously it depends on how much body fat you have as to how successful that's going to be. I guess the big one, traditionally, the ketogenic diet, believe it or not, was actually used for people with epilepsy, particularly in children. I guess basically now there's a lot of interest in it, in exactly what I'm doing, and also too for diet. Again, like I say, I'm not doing it for diet. I'm not doing it to lose weight. I certainly do not need to lose any more weight. It's all about another source of energy rather than eating lots of sugars and carbohydrates and carb loading. So that's what it's all about. I guess like all eating plans, there's always pros and cons. And I guess basically the one thing I found, and the unfortunate thing I found, a lot of material you read has got a lot of literature that's, full of facts and figures, and a lot of them are contradicting. So it's really hard to get a true statement, unless, of course, like you're doing it like me, is just try it. And I guess you've got to be careful because obviously there's a lot of negatives to things such as, ketosis eating plan, and some of those that you'll find, and I've actually read, and is constipation is one of them. And to this point in time, 4 days, it's very early. I certainly have not had any constipation from that, because obviously you're reducing the fiber that you're taking, so that does that. Bad breath is another one. I am married, and my wife would very quickly let me know if I had the bad breath. But at this stage, I don't have really bad breath from that side of the world. I like I say, I've been very thirsty, so lots and lots of water from that side of the world. They talk about hair loss. I have had a haircut. It's not hair loss. Yesterday I had a haircut, so that looks like I'm a bit thin on top, but that is not from hair loss. For that, they talk about the keto flu, which you obviously have symptoms of the flu, and you feel a bit lethargic and snotty and all that type of thing. I haven't had that at all. Not at all. Like I said, I have been a little bit dizzy or lightheaded, but that's, again, as I say, quite a normal byproduct of the ketosis. They talk about electrolyte imbalance. So in other words, you're going to suffer from muscle cramps, and I haven't done a lot of exercise, like extreme exercise, in the last 4 days. So muscle cramps probably not a contributing factor as to what I'm trying to achieve, but I can tell you right now, as I ramp up to do the swim and certainly triathlon season arriving, it could get very interesting to see how that happens. I guess the big one is in that nutritional deficiency. So you get, a lack in vitamins, minerals like A, E, B6, folate, calcium, magnesium, potassium, and iron. I'm not so sure about the iron side of the world because, to be honest, you're getting a lot of iron from the meat you eat, which I'll talk another episode about my hemochromatosis and how that's potentially going to affect me, because I don't quite know that at this point. And they talk about mood and cognitive function slows down, and your moods get very, I guess, basically thrown around. Certainly haven't found any of that. Cognitive function probably a little bit better, if anything. And my moods, well, you'd have to talk to my wife about that. But, at this point in time, things are going really well. The actual eating plan is really going well, because you're eating a lot of proteins and steak and eggs, and love it. Absolutely fantastic. I guess the big thing is just to keep an eye on basically everything else that goes with that. Now, just to let you know, I did have full set of bloods before I started this, and they all came back normal. And I have a full set of bloods after 3 months, after 6 months, after 12 months, and so forth, just to see how that's all going. So that's really important. I also weighed myself at the start. So my weight at the start was just a whisker under 84 kilos. So that's pretty much standard for me, 84, 85. I fluctuate from that period. I haven't seen any reduction in weight loss on the scales. Haven't seen any weight loss reduction, particularly with clothing, just yet, because like I say, 4 days in, that's pretty inevitable. But again, that's day 4. Things are going really well, and I'll keep you up to date.